Okay, so we're here at the front end of an OpenStack Horizon dashboard. There's actually a couple that we're going to look at, and that's because I wanted to show you how different iterations of the OpenStack Horizon dashboard may appear as you use them. Why are they different, you should say? Well, that's because each iteration or distribution of OpenStack has its own customized front end. The code that's running under the covers in the Horizon environment is still identical, but the branding and logos and some of the look and feel is different. That's just customized so that it's recognizable as to which distribution you're using. So in this case, we want to see some of the admin functions. So I'm going to log in to my cloud as OpenStack admin. So you can see here, it's a very simple, bright interface. That's pretty cool. But what's really cool is the features and functions that we're going to find inside it. Now, you recall we talked about the different projects. This is a fairly simplified interface, so it may not have all of the projects that are in the OpenStack environment. In fact, this one doesn't have all of the heat orchestration, and it doesn't have a Swift environment attached to it either. So out of the gate, you can see we have our general overview pane, which you can do utilization, and you can show people what their utilization is in the entire cloud. This is the admin panel, so you can actually see everybody's activity. In our Nova environment, we can see what our hypervisors are. So in this case, we actually have one KVM hypervisor, which is running, and it's not really super high on utilization, but again, this is just a demo environment to show you what it looks like. More info on our Nova environment, we can actually show what the running instances are, or the available instances. In this case, the MyCyclingStore.com crew happen to have an instance up, and it's called MyCyclingWeb. So maybe that was that one that Jens and Claire were working on where they were reattaching volumes to. Our Cinder project, or our volume storage service, is going to be here under our Volumes tab. So these are our block volumes, which are available, again, to be created, attached, and detached. You'll notice that we actually already have one called MyCyclingStore.com project. It's MyCyclingWeb vol, and it is in use and attached to the MyCyclingWeb. In our flavor panel, you'll see these are the flavors that we talked about in the slides. These are the default 5 flavors that come out of the box with OpenStack. Now, I haven't deviated from them again because I'm just running a demo environment so we can show you what it looks like. But you can go in and you could edit any of these and perform other actions based on what you want to do. Again, all of this is very easily available through this nice, slick front end. You can also do it through orchestration tools and through the Python command lines and other command line processes in the back end. A lot of it's also deliverable directly through the API, which is how the Horizon environment attaches to it. All of these are simple API requests into the existing environments. In our images area, which is the Glance project, you can see we actually only have one image that we've got running right now. We don't have too many options as to what we can do other than to create an image or delete an image. In this case, I'm not going to mess around with the MyCyclingStore.com crew because they might get a little irked if I delete their images on them. There's a system defaults page which has a lot of key information about maximums and minimums of what you can support. A general system info shows you the different endpoints and services that are available. Underneath the services, each service is listed as to whether it's available in a particular zone and what the status is. We have our overall availability zone, and we have our host aggregate pool. In our case, we only have one KVM host, so we don't have any aggregates built up because there was no value in creating an aggregate pool for one host in this case. Our projects that are available show us the project and a very minimal amount of information. You'll notice a lot of our information shows up with these really large GUIDs. These are really tough to keep track of, and luckily you don't have to. For the most part, these are passed back and forth through the API as sort of service IDs. When you work in the command line, as you will in later on deeper technical courses on Pluralsight, you're going to find that we have to understand how to pull in project ID information and feed it back in as we perform commands in between the different projects. And then, of course, our user panel. We don't have very many users in this environment, and in fact, we only have a demo user. And you'll notice all of these are our service names. Recall that services also need to have user accounts in our Keystone environment, because each service itself has to be authenticated and authorized for basic functions. Now that's the general admin panel, and we can even view the project panel, but we're going to save that for down the road when we talk about the user interface. So we're going to log out of here, and let's go take a look at our second lab environment. Luckily, we keep our admin IDs very easy to remember. So we're going to log in here as our OpenStack admin. Now you'll notice this is entirely different. In fact, this is a very basic system that only has the shell created just to show you the difference in what it would look like with a different Horizon front end. We have a couple of different images in here in our Glance service. We have no running instances at the moment, and that's actually because our hypervisor is offline. In our panel environment, we can see a couple of different projects that are there, and then the same thing for the users. Now you'll notice there's a few more users of this environment, and that's because we have additional projects that are available. One of the interesting things about this environment is actually it's running Neutron. So inside the Neutron build, we can see the different routers and networks that are available. When we look at the project view, we're going to see a very cool version of what those look like. So again, this is the project view, which is more of the user view. So let's take a break right now, and we'll go back and we'll come back to here when we want to look at it from the user perspective.